Fortnite, you're going to be speaking to me with a little more reverence and respect than you did prior to this.
If I try to play beyond the hype.
How come I'm getting like Fisher Price questions?
Guys,
Hey, what's your favorite color?
I am co-host, the first of which is Scott.
Hello.
Scott, I asked you to give us a line from a movie way back when, and you smashed it out of the park. This was by all metrics the peak of the Supply Drop podcast.
Indeed.
Can you once again, off the top of your head, give us a line from a movie so that Thick and I
Welcome
can
to the party.
guess it? Wait a second. Did you do that one last time?
No.
Is it Welcome to the Party, pal?
It is. Ooh, you got me. Oh, you got me on that. Welcome to the... Oh,
Thick,
man.
do you know what he's talking
I
about? Do you
failed.
know what he's talking about?
I'm so bad at quotes, so you guys gonna... I'll probably know once you guys mention it. Like, it's not jarring anything for me.
This is the late, great Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. He's looking
Yeah.
down at the camera.
Okay.
That was kind of... I have to admit that was a little bit on top because I was on Twitter the other day for some reason, and somebody was complaining about console this and console that, and I just was thinking all I can think about was Bruce Willis hanging out the window and say welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah, if you're on Twitter talking about video games, you have to get sludged with console war nonsense. You just have to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
given.
Yeah. That third head of the Hydra is none other than Thick.
Hello.
Thick, without spoiling anything, are you nervous about this week's big talk? Don't spoil anything.
No, I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Okay, good.
You give me an easy question, so...
Well, you could have taken it anywhere.
I know. I usually get the easy questions.
Yeah. How about... okay, I'll give you one question. How about that?
Okay, yeah, hit me.
It's for both you guys.
Okay.
Do you guys prefer to hold or toggle your crouch?
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Toggle. I'm used to toggle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
toggle,
hold. You don't
toggle.
want to hold. Why would you ever hold? Why would you ever hold crouch? That's incorrect.
Maybe in a stealth game.
No, Scott, because
Nah,
you have your.
you wouldn't want to
You
do
have
that.
your right thumb on a different button. You want to be aiming with that other.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah.
Okay, and that's just a preview of the conversation. Okay.
Definitely toggle.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get started, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, question, or insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, tell everyone how your week went.
My week was not necessarily game related, but I did get a chance to play. There's a bunch of demos that dropped on Steam, and one of them was the RoboCop demo.
Yeah.
I downloaded it.
Yeah, I got to play a little bit of it.
Okay.
It's got some performance issues, of course, but man, these guys just they have to be my age because they just nailed that 1980s action movie.
Really?
Yeah, Peter Weller is doing the voice, reprising his role as RoboCop. It's dumb. I mean, it is just you're just shooting bad guys like in different ways, but mostly just with your 3-burst pistol. Bam, bam, bam. You can scan them just like the movie, and so as far as like a cheap
homage kind of.
Well, no, more like a when we had a game for every action movie that came out. This is kind of like that. Just almost 40 years later. But it is fun. I don't know if I could play an entire game of that, but if you are a fan of the movie, I strongly suggest going and download the demo and checking that out.
So does he, when he walks, does he feel like RoboCop? The whole thumping.
Oh yeah,
that you hear.
Yeah. You're not like sprinting through this thing and running. You're kind of like doing this.
Yeah,
it's just it's like a head bob, and you can hear the his footsteps. So yeah, I mean, as far as authenticity, they nailed it. I mean, it feels like you are RoboCop. Now, when you punch somebody, it's just disgusting. Ultra violent, ultra gory, just like.
Quick question: RoboCop 1, good movie or just popcorn fun movie? Like where does it land?
For the time, really good.
For the time, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
I
Scott,
would say, I would say it still holds up. I would say if you have not seen RoboCop. And you watch it today, you'll totally get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't say that about every movie around that time.
Yeah,
Right.
not RoboCop 3.
Yeah, like if you go back and watch the first Terminator and you've never seen it, you're going to be like, this is janky as crap, But at the time, you're like, terrified.
Right.
This, I think, really holds up. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't know about the game. We'll talk about it next year. See if anybody even remembers it coming out.
I guess did the demo prevent a potential purchase? Did it help the game or did it hurt the game for you, Scott?
I'm going to finish the demo. I'm going to go back and finish it. It's not a full price game. I think it's going to be $39.99, and I think that's priced accordingly. But if the missions get more varied and there's an actual story that ties into it, then I don't know. Maybe it's got some performance things. It looks like it could probably be cleaned up a little bit with a couple of patches.
Okay.
But which leads me to my next thing that I did. I saw a lot on Twitter. A lot of people are, for some reason, comparing Cyberpunk, which came out 3 years ago, to Starfield, which came out a couple of months ago. And most notably, graphics, gameplay, shooting, character models, all of this stuff. And I think it's just kind of silly. But I'm going to bring up this on my screen, and I want you to remember that this is with version of Cyberpunk 2.01. Now, fresh. Okay.
Fresh, yeah.
Before I show you that, I've got 50 plus hours in the Starfield, and I did complete the main quest Friday.
Nice.
Yeah. So now I can just go, kind of do whatever I want. I didn't experience anything like this in Starfield. That's already been, I think there's been one, maybe two patches. I'm going to bring this up over here. You guys can see it. You guys can't see it, but our audience can see it. All I did was get in my car. And the person that's dangling out of that was just a passerby. And then, of course, the police start shooting at me. This is like day one Cyberpunk stuff. So, if you want to compare these two, I think I just saw this and I just laughed. I didn't experience anything even remotely like this in my playthrough of Starfield. So if anybody's got any questions about, the quality or the bugs of either one of these, Cyberpunk, you're going to run into those. Starfield, minor stuff through the entire game that I played. Just minor little, stuff you see in video games. You shoot somebody and they get stuck in a wall, or somebody stops, interacting for a little bit, and then they come back and they're like, what are you doing? Other than that, I didn't get to do much else. But
can I say something controversial?
Please do.
So Cyberpunk 2.01 that's like an 8-year dev cycle for that game, right? If you I know it's a little weird at the last 3 years, probably wasn't full development on it. But that's like,
well, can you say that because it was released 3 years ago? Is that last 3 years full development?
No, it probably wasn't. So it's but here's my point.
Yeah.
What is it? Star Citizen is like the whipping boy on Reddit and message boards.
Yeah.
Right? 12 years. That's 12 years. When I compare that to a 8-year dev cycle game, 12 years doesn't seem that crazy to me. You know what I mean?
In what
People
way?
are like, oh my gosh, it's been in development for 12 years. Like, can you believe it? And I'm like, well, look at a lot of these games are like 8, pushing on 9 years in development. And like, I just think like they're like way less ambitious than Star Citizen. It just makes me seem like, okay, 12 years not that big of a deal, right?
Well, yeah,
for an ambitious project like that.
For an ambitious project, but yeah. I was referring to when they were released, like from time to
release
I know.
to
now. But
right.
I see that. We talked about this last week. Games are going to get longer and longer to make. They're going to take more, more money, more people.
That's true.
Just like the movie industry. But I wish there was a way they could figure out how to do that.
AI.
Well,
no.
I mean,
Maybe.
I know. I'm kind of on the fence about that, but at the same time, how far are we from going? Hey, Chat GBT, make me a game that's like Skyrim, but this or
Yeah.
this, or maybe with
Yeah.
this and this and this in it, and then you come back an hour later and there's your game.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So, not that I really want that, but I kind of do. I mean, what is it like on the holodeck in Star Trek? They walk in, they go, yeah, I want to be a, Robin Hood,
Right.
and,
Right.
or whatever, and then with these parameters, and then there you go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
There's
I think
Man,
go ahead,
that
go
took an
What's
hour
the-
of development time, man. That was terrible.
yeah, I think with the politics with like game engines and how things are separated with publishers, that won't ever happen where you just make something pop up
it.
like that, right?
Well, yeah, and with my news story, we'll talk a little bit more about this because it kind of gives an
Okay.
inside view of what happens with some of these games and
yeah.
what goes wrong with some of these
Right.
games.
Great episode of Star Trek. One of the side characters goes into the holodeck and he starts like romancing one of the main. What's her name? The empath who's like, these aliens seem hostile to me. Who is that character?
God, I don't remember.
Yeah, but he's like romancing her in the holodeck, and
Yeah.
it was just funny because they find out and they're like, dude, that's a little weird. That's a little strange.
It's like it's not somebody made up. It's like your
Yeah.
coworker.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
it's awkward.
Thick. Tell us how your week went.
It was not too bad actually. Let's see. I resubbed to what do you call it? World of Warcraft again.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. It's just like they had a deal with like the upgrade, and it was like I don't know, like 20 bucks for
what?
like a month and a couple of items. I was like, okay, whatever.
Oh, really?
That's not
So
bad.
I just picked it up. I've been playing through Dragonflight. Well, what's nice is I haven't played for a year, right? So when I come back, it gives me like do you want kind of like a gear update? So they update all your gear, they clear out your quest and bags. Because like whenever I restart in the past, I just be
Right.
like, I don't remember what to do.
Right.
Or like, I have a character I haven't touched in forever. And now they're pretty good about it. You could play, unlike Destiny 2, you can still play all the campaigns in the game, all the different expansions. And what the way they kind of add it into the game is there's this kind of like, there's this dragon flight that, and this has been in the game for a little bit, not this expansion specifically, but it basically, it's a dragon flight that travels through time. So basically, it allows you to travel back to that expansion and run through that whole campaign. With,
Interesting.
with any level, like it scales with you now. So I think that's really nice to really kind of experience like the content, because like there's a lot of good content in the past, like like really good expansions, and there are expansions that I miss, and now they're just part of the base game, which I really enjoy.
I didn't know you were a World of Warcraft player.
Oh,
You
yes.
have some time in that game.
I have a lot of time. Like
Oh, do you really?
I think if I were like I've checked the played time, and I can only check per character, but I've had some characters that have like 4,000 hours, I think.
Oh, really?
Like yeah, like we're talking about a lot of time. But of course, there's a lot of idle time too. It was mostly during the early 2010s, like when I wasn't really
Right.
working, or I was just working like your most basic level job, and I'm just trying to stay low.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what MMOs have you played in the interim, like from dropping off and then coming back?
I feel like like there's always like this one game that you kind of play like throughout a certain time, and then eventually you maybe just stop. So first it was WoW. After that it was League of Legends for a while. Like I think I if I recall, I had 1,000 wins, which when you equate that to maybe like
Hours.
half, if you equate that to hours, that's like 45 minutes per match.
Right.
Right.
That's a lot of time, right? Plus, we're not counting the losses. After that, I think I moved to Destiny. For a little bit, like the original Destiny.
Yeah, I guess that could be considered an MMO. I mean, maybe not so much at the time, but yeah.
But I mean, I'm not always playing an MMO, but like I played a lot to just like sample everything, like WildStar, Rift. I tried New Worlds recently, right?
Hmm.
And Terra. I liked Terra a lot, especially when I got it when it was originally like a sub, and like it was the first game that really had the whole like action style combat in the MMO.
Yeah.
And it felt pretty good. And I did try, I was also in a lot of betas, like the Elder Scrolls beta, Secret World. You know, Secret World, what was it? What's the company? Funcom? Does
Yeah.
Conan? Yeah.
So,
So,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, no, go ahead. You had
Well,
a
I was
question.
asking. It's like for me, playing WoW and then playing other stuff, and like
Hmm.
dropping off and then playing this and playing that. And I'll use New World as an example. It's probably the last MMO that I put any time into. And then playing that and then going back to WoW, it just seems so dated. It just
It
seems.
is pretty
I
dated
mean, it
in a way.
just. I can't get back into it. Just because of that, because of the
They,
when it came out, MMOs were still kind of in its infancy, and it just
yeah.
really didn't grow. And I know people don't want that. They don't want it to actually evolve into something newer. But yeah, I mean, is it for you though? Like going back, is it is it fun or is it just nostalgic or both?
I think it can be both, right?
Hmm.
Because I think what they've added, it helps the feel, but you have to be okay with tab targeting, right? Like you're still
Yeah,
clicking on a target and then like you're throwing abilities on it, right?
yeah,
But like in the past where your hotkey bar was so full, like you had so many abilities, they've really slimmed it down to where it's almost controller friendly. Um,
Ooh,
Almost. So like
interesting.
it's like I almost think that this could eventually come to consoles in
Yeah.
somewhat in
Well,
form.
I think I think it's got
Yeah.
a better chance now than it ever did.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they've done lots of improvements just overall and just kind of like not necessarily trimmed the content. I mean, they've evolved a lot of content, but they've kept it fresh enough. Like the graphics doesn't look terrible. Like
Yeah.
the art style is cartoony, it holds up.
It looks like Fortnite.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, old Fortnite, but yeah.
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 Um, the what they added in Dragonfly was the flying, and that changes a lot because that you're traveling a lot, right? So the dragon influence makes like traveling a lot easier. You don't have to. It makes it more fun because like there's things you can collect in the air.
Hmm.
That's how you level up your character. They're like you find tokens around the world. You have to go around the world and find tokens. There's events going on, live events, which is all normal WoW stuff, but it just makes it's a quality of life that makes the game a lot like easier to just play. Like jump in, play a little bit, jump out. They've been doing like small events like they have the thing where it's called time walking where you basically go to old dungeons and you run it and like you're scaled back down to that level and you get tokens and use those tokens towards like cosmetics and stuff, which is nice. And it's nice to experience those dungeons again. I've totally forgot how they ran. I used to remember every single dungeon, but I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
When
It's
you
kind of.
play, when you play, are you playing with a group, or are you kind of soloing everything?
I've been kind of soloing a lot. I know like I have a couple of friends that picked it up
Mm.
recently, but I haven't teamed up with them. Oh, one thing they kind of changed recently is you could team up with your the other faction now and do like the harder content, which is I mean, it's new because they've had a
Yeah.
couple expansions where it's like, oh, it's about working together, and then they have some that it's like, oh, it's you versus them kind of thing. So
Oh.
I
Oh.
was, it's kind of like, I guess, about time. Maybe it's like, just to get with the times or whatever.
Mm.
But in any case, yeah, I I've been playing like maybe a little bit every night, but the other game I've been mostly playing is Diablo 4. Oh, what? Did you guys have any other comments about it, actually? Um,
No, I
okay.
just realized now you're the gas expert on the show. I used
And
to think
then,
I was the gas expert or the gas, whatever, but
oh,
it is you. It is you.
it just seems like I'm a Blizzard fanboy, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
playing Diablo 4 as
but you've
well.
played a lot of different ones throughout your history,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've
yeah,
I've touched a couple of MMOs.
yeah.
So what was it? Season 1 is ending, and I'm like 10 levels away from completing the battle pass. So I've been trying to power through Diablo 4. I've taken like many breaks. Like there's times where I just don't play for a week or two. But I'm trying to finish it. Part of it's just kind of like, me with the carrot on the stick. I like battle passes, so I got to complete it. But I'm just trying to complete it. I probably won't do another season like this again, like in terms of like trying to complete it all the way, because it's just time consuming. But I mean, it's still fun to play. One thing I did though, like just like kind of interesting in the game is like there's this tier jump, right? Like there's tier 3, which is like a level of difficulty. I'm on the like final parts of it, like I can go to tier 4, but I'm like 6 levels lower than whatever little like test you have to do. Like you have to run a dungeon, and like I'm level 64. The dungeon is 70, and I got through most of it, but then I can't beat the last boss. Like, and it did take me like probably 2 hours to go through the dungeon because I died a lot. Like,
Feels bad.
Like it felt like good because I was being challenged, but
Yeah.
I could not beat the last boss. So it feels like I kind of wasted like 2 hours. But I mean, I got, I guess, XP in some ways, but still, it seems I got to love my character a little bit more.
I like hearing that from you, Thick. I like hearing that Thick likes a challenge.
I do.
Yeah.
Like, because it was getting a little easy in like the regular world with just like running
Yeah.
whatever level, and then there's some places where the characters are like a couple levels higher in difficulty, but I've just been going through the content. Hopefully I can complete the battle pass. It's not the biggest deal if I don't. So
Yeah, here's season 2 is going to be better.
I
They're
hear a lot of
some
quality of
changes.
life.
Yeah, they're making some change. They're doing that, back crawl. It's like seems like every game service now does this. That season 1 is like changes. Like, what are you doing? This is crap. This is terrible. They just and then that season 2 is that we're sorry. We fixed it. Please buy our merch. Yeah.
Was it when it comes to like seasons like this? Like I feel like season 3 is the sweet spot because they've gotten all like all the critical criticisms from the very beginning and maybe season 1 are addressed by season 3. They're not going to address everything by season 2, right?
No.
Yeah.
Right. And from what I understand, season 1 was already made before they even released. Or it was like close to finishing before they even released Diablo 4, right?
Yeah.
So, I equate it to Apex Legends Season 1, which was just lackluster too. Like, it was the lackluster Battle Pass. Octane was cool. But by Season 2 and 3, like, they really started to kind of gain momentum. Like, like Apex's most successful season is not like the early seasons. It's always like later seasons.
Yeah, Halo Infinite would be. You could say the same thing for that because the first like 3 seasons were just like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? I don't even understand. But then right at 3 and by the end of 3 and then going into 4, that's when it started to get. It gives the appearance that they start to get it, but it's more of like how much can they get away with, until they are on the verge of losing their their players.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Because Blizzard's starting to do the same thing. It's like, we'll fix that. We can't fix it right now, but we'll fix it in the next season. When it's probably just something that they can just upload a patch and it'd be fixed. But they're making too much money at the same time, so it's got to be
argue
difficult.
They're not making that money if that people aren't playing, right? Like they're not looking
What's
at the
player
store.
count now? So is it?
I don't know.
I know it's dropped off, but is it like catastrophic or just down?
So I think it's just down. Like I don't really have issues finding players. Although recently, maybe it's because it's the end of the season as well.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's been pretty quiet, like more quiet than usual.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is near the end of the season. I think that's pretty normal for a lot of these seasonal type games, right? Even Path of the Exile kind of has that issue.
Yeah. Well, I played like for me personally as a like Diablo 1 player, I play the campaign and I play through it, maybe with a couple of characters or have a couple of characters, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't really play it as I don't really play it as a game of service. It's nice that it has that once it gets good. Like after like season 2, if season 2 is good, I may come back to it and and start playing the end game stuff. But
Do you have any characters you have not started, any classes? Because like I have kind of withdrawn from some of the classes until like a newer season, just so I have something to do in the game. Right?
I think I have a character for every class. I have to go back and look. No,
Oh, wow.
there's probably one that I don't. There's got to be one now that I'm thinking of it. Because I've got a couple of hardcore characters, but they're like one's a barbarian and one's a sorcerer, which is the other two that I play. But yeah, I'm interested to see the new player class for season 2. The vampire.
Oh, I don't think there's a class from what I understand, right?
I thought there was a new class for season 2.
Don't think so.
No.
It's just a new event. I feel like they're
okay.
withholding classes probably for expansions. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, well, of course you would have to pay more money for it. But how much is a season?
If you want to buy it, it's all cosmetic, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like $10.
Okay,
Like
that's not bad.
just to partake in it, like
That's
it's
normal.
free. It's pretty non-offensive. The problem is the content. That's really it. Content and quality of life. I think that's the bigger complaints.
Yeah, I mean when I dropped off, they were nerfing everything, and it's like, why are you? I understand why you're nerfing it, because you don't want people to level up as quick so that you can monetize it more, but it just looks kind of egregious when it's like it's not a multiplayer game. Nobody's getting hurt. Like having an OP magic wand. You know what I'm saying? I mean, anyway, they'll figure it out. It'll get better.
Yeah.
This came out in June, probably by spring or that next season 3, like you said, we'll be talking about Diablo 2 again. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't go without hearing the words Halo Infinite without trashing it. So let me take 15 seconds to try to trash it. You hear everywhere the last few months, oh, Halo Infinite is good again. Everyone should try it. Now, Scott, I know you've said this too, so I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to attack the whole vibe. Last 6 months on Steam. Now I know Scott doesn't like me referencing Steam because it's an Xbox game. Some of the lowest player counts on Steam have occurred over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and here's why. And converting from Xbox to PC, here's why. On Xbox, there's like 3 things to play. On
Steam is too competitive. Yeah,
is since anybody said, oh, it's good again. 1,100 games just dropped.
That's a good point.
Right,
that's a good point.
Yeah, and not to mention Counter-Strike 2. A lot of other multiplayer games and even betas and things like that. So that's why you see, you can't gauge an Xbox game on Steam, even though it's sold on Steam, because of that metric. Not that it matters. I don't care.
Nate, I see that face.
I know. I feel like you can a little bit more than Scott. I know. I hear Scott's point, and he does make a semi-valid point.
Yeah.
I still feel like when you do polls.
I don't play Halo Infinite on Steam. I play it on the Xbox app.
In November 2021, they had an average of 100,000 concurrent players. Like, that's a huge sampling of players. Yeah. And those players have largely left the game for other games on Steam, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's understandable because, they pretty much demolished their player count. That's why it's, it's hard to get people back, because you're competing. Yeah. Once you drop that game and it's good, if you don't keep that momentum, you're going to lose them to something else that just came out or something else that's, trying to build their community back up. There's always that game that if they stick with it, it's like, it's good again. Look at Battlefield 2042. It's in a really good state right now. But, 2 years ago, it was the
just
worst.
Launched, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, on the 12th, I think. Yeah.
Soon, yeah.
Soon, very soon. So, you're competing with that as well on Steam. So not that I'm defending Halo Infinite. I'm just saying that looking at those numbers doesn't really tell who's playing what.
Yeah. I will say this, when you log on to Halo Infinite, you're hit with a menu at a certain point, like, do you want to do, small team battle or big team battle? Mm-hmm. If they did a third option in that screen, like something like a really bigger, more modern multiplayer game, I think you might see those numbers on Steam skyrocket.
I've always said that since Halo 3, I've always wanted a much larger Halo. And they kind of did it with 5. They did this Warzone thing,
Right.
but it wasn't. It was a PvPvE kind of thing. No,
Yeah.
I want like a flat out Battlefield Halo game where you've
Right.
got one team as the enemy and one team is, you've got elites against Spartans or whatever.
Yeah.
You've got class based. You've got, I think a lot of people want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just don't want to deliver that because they don't want to encroach on yet another, model and another, game, multiplayer game out there that does that supposedly very well. Or depending
Let's
on
hope
the
that
week.
project. Let's hope that Project Tatanka is real.
Yeah,
Remember we heard about
We're
that
still
every couple
waiting.
weeks. I know.
Man.
So wait,
And we
it
still
wasn't
don't know
even
what
in
it
the road.
is. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
wasn't even in the leaked roadmap, right?
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Oh.
It
Oh.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but there's some. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if we ought to talk about that because I
Yeah.
feel like half the stuff that was in that's probably gotten canned or
Right.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
years off.
Yeah. Right. Guys, let me jump into what I did this week real quick.
Yeah.
You guys instructed me to try to finish Cyberpunk 2077. I could not do it. I was having such a bad time trying to finish that.
Car flipping.
However, I will say there's one thing about this game that I want to bring up to you and see if you guys hate it as much as I do.
Yeah.
I'm obviously I'm near the end of the game. So
wait,
you know
wait, how far in?
I'm on the mission where they're like, okay, this is your point of no return. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that.
So you got
that
30
one.
more
So
hours.
like,
Yeah.
I have 30 more hours. Well, I'm at the point where like, your story's kind of ramping up again. So you're talking to Johnny Silverhand. You're like kind of becoming friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
They do this with a lot of the characters that they want you to care about. During dialogue options, during like a sentimental moment, the game will play this really dramatic, like interesting sounding music to get you to feel something, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking hate that. It's that to me, first of all, it kind of works on me. It kind of works, and I
Yeah.
hate the fact that it does work on me, right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, you can't
Just go
argue
with
that
it,
design
man.
then. Yeah.
to me, it feels so manipulative. Like our game's story is not that good, but if we just kind of add a little touch of this orchestra to this kind of sappy dialogue option, then you're like, oh my gosh, I like you, Johnny Silverhand. Like, I'm going to miss you. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of instances of this in gaming, like battle passes work because it's that carrot on a stick.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I know.
mean, okay. Did you ever see E.T.?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the
Yeah, I
end
did.
E.T. when he's like, and then he does the thing, and then the music
Yeah.
swells, and I mean, come on,
Yeah.
if there was no music in that, you would be
Yeah, I
like,
know. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Once he
I guess
leaving, yeah.
I guess I didn't like because I don't like story in games that much, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of like I've never really
A little
noticed.
sappy.
It's okay. It's okay. Got you, Nate. It's fine.
I've never noticed it.
Nate had a feeling.
Yeah.
I've never noticed it during dialogue in games before. Like when I play Mass Effect, it's just like it's like whatever's
Yeah.
going on in the ship, But like to me, it's just like, oh darn it, they have another tool at their disposal.
This is it's in the same line as game feel. I'll tell you that.
Well, I don't. Yeah, you could be right. I do have one more question for you guys, though. Okay?
Yeah.
I've discovered this wish list thing on PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
So you add games to your wish list. Once it goes on sale, they kind of update you. They tell you it's on sale.
Yeah, Xbox has been doing that for years.
They've been doing it for years, right? But I've added 7 games to the wish list. I want both of you to tell me which game. Like Nate, don't be tricked by the low price. You're not gonna like this game, all right?
Okay.
You guys know me to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here are the 7 games. Tell me which one is the red flag, not the Nate game, okay?
Okay.
Resident Evil 4 the remake, Hitman 3, Baldur's Gate 3, Shadow Gambit, Persona 5 Royale, Final Fantasy 6, or Warhammer Bolt Gun. Did
Wait,
any of those
16, right?
16.
No,
Fantasy
6.
16.
6, the SNES game, yeah.
Okay.
They say that's the good one. Any of those games are like Nate avoid at all costs.
You might like Final Fantasy 3 because that's when they started introducing the class. They had a remake of it.
3?
Yeah, 3. Like they remade it on 3DS and no, actually not on DS. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Is that not the first one that was available in the U.S.? I don't remember because I know
It
2
might-
wasn't because 2 was.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be the one that was never available because it's a little bit messy.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly which.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But
Yeah.
I had it on DS or Game Boy. I forget, but it was pretty good because like there's a lot of depth in the job system and like just customizing your characters. But okay.
I think that
All right,
I think what he's saying is that's a red flag.
Yeah. Don't do it, Nate.
I have looked at numerous polls. What is the best Final Fantasy? 6 is frequently high up on that list. I never see 3 high up on that list.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't ever see
6,
3 even.
6 seems to be the one like, oh, then they went 3D and it had a, it kind of went downhill after that.
Yeah.
You'll see like the old school fans say that.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's probably 2 schools about that too. 2D, 3D,
Right.
I would say Bolt Gun, I don't think I would say that's maybe a red flag for you.
So
it's a little
just kind
bit
of stay away from that.
difficult,
Yeah, I mean
maybe,
it is
right?
I like
definitely a
difficult.
boomer shooter. Yeah. It's
All right,
difficult,
but it's like
but
it's high action.
it's all action. Like
It's all action.
I mean,
okay.
there's no feelings. There's no story.
Yeah.
I'm big on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
What about Trepang? Trepang is now releasing on console. Maybe you should get that.
I'll put it on my wish list.
That I would say that probably over. Not that Bolt Gun is not a good game. I think it's an excellent.
It's just not
game.
a Nate
I
game.
really enjoyed it. I don't think
Yeah.
it's a Nate game. Yeah.
Okay.
I also don't think Persona 5
5
Royal
Royale.
is the Nate.
Yeah,
game
I tried that.
necessarily.
I thought it was really cool,
Yeah.
very stylized. I like the whole, but just it's not for me. I could see why people like it. It's really cool, but
I
couldn't
put
get into
that
it.
on because I did play Persona 4 for probably 25-ish hours, and I'm like, there is something cool about these games. Like I feel like
What do you like about it? What do you like about it?
I felt like for some reason it was so new it was a new concept for an RPG for me.
Yeah.
Like, there's these social links. You have to go to school
Yeah.
every day. You have to do this weird formula where I was like, it was a completely new formula, right? It wasn't like, okay, I've seen this a million times.
So 5 is just more of that. You're okay with
Right.
that? Like, is that
don't
going to
know.
lose its luster for you? You know?
Yeah, at a certain point, I was like, okay, now I understand the formula. Now I'm not
that
interested
was
in the
kind of
formula.
like for me. Once I
Okay.
got what I was going to be doing, that's
Yeah.
when I kind of dropped off. But
And I do think I remember the characters were kind of interesting in Persona 4. There was some fun dialogue to be privy to.
Okay. Replace Persona 5 with Yakuza 0. How about that?
Really?
Just
do it. Just do it.
just do it. I
Don't
don't
ask
know.
questions.
Yeah, it'll be on sale, $5. It's not the
Dive
worst
in.
$5 you could spend. So
Okay. All right, guys. Thank
There
you
you
for
go.
helping me with my wish list. Thank you.
Yeah.
no problem.
Guys, we have to head into listener feedback.
All right.
yes.
Before we kick things off, let's go to our listener feedback segment. Here's where our listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, or insult. Thick, what do you have for us this week?
I got nothing.
This week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by a YouTube channel called Seriously Tech Stuff. Come check out Seriously Tech Stuff, a gaming hardware review channel that balances humor with delicate sensibilities. Thanks for sponsoring the show, YouTube affiliate known as Seriously Tech Stuff.
You're welcome.
I tried to say that a few times, but again, I know you're good for it. But Scott, didn't get anything in the mail yet. I know you're good for it.
It's in the mail. It's
in the mail. It's gone.
Yeah.
it's a slow process.
Okay. All right, guys. The drop is occurring right now. The segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news story. Scott, what intrigued you this week?
Well, we kind of saw this coming. I think we did. But Hyenas from Creative Assembly got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up a couple of things, news stories. News story was everything was pretty much the same. It got canceled. It was Sega's biggest bet. They put as the most money into it. However, layoffs are probably going to follow this cancellation. But Jeff Grubb, our buddy Jeff, had kind of the best scoop on this. And what he said is that it was canceled due to the growing multiplayer competition. And we could see that. I mean, the game service is getting tighter and tighter. And then he said staff said there was no clear management or direction. We see this a lot with canceled games or games that release poorly, like Redfall.
It's like a fad game too, in a way, right? At
Yeah.
least what it seems like it was going for.
They said, and this is weird, but they said the biggest direction they have was the change from like money, like you stealing money from a safe, to pop culture items.
I thought that was interesting, actually.
It is kind of interesting, but Neil Blomkamp, the director, came in and saw the game, saw the concept. I guess he's working on something with Sega.
Blomkamp is doing off the grid, that battle royale off the grid.
Yeah, is that maybe published by Sega? I don't know. Somehow he got in there and he said, "Hey, this is what you should do," and they liked it.
I was
and they
surprised
went
to
with
hear
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of weird. He's a big gamer though. I mean, he almost made a Halo movie.
Right.
But even after that, the staff was like, "This is a bad idea." I mean, the development team didn't want to make the game. They were kind of hoping it was going to get canceled. Not of course lose their job over it. But this sounds a lot like Redfall to me. This sounds a lot like when Microsoft came in and saw it. These guys were like, "Please cancel it." And they were just
Redfall
like,
did get an update this week.
It did,
Just saying.
and
Yeah.
I did play it recently, and on PC it looks absolutely amazing. Plays a lot better, and
Really?
on Xbox Series S it is 60 frames per second, and also looks really good and plays well. So,
Game of the
Not-
year.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. I mean, they had a bunch
they
of content.
fulfilled the
to it.
promise, right?
They
With
did.
The 60 FPS.
They did.
So.
We'll probably never get an update ever again, or
Yeah, that might
if
be it.
they might drop a bunch of content into it with the next roll around, and we might be playing this next year. I don't know, but
Yeah.
but
Redfall Battle Royale.
Anyway,
Can I offer my take on this though?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Scott, you said Hyenas ran into a Redfall situation. I don't see it that way. Let me tell you what I see.
Well, I think from the
Redfall-
developer standpoint, not necessarily the same kind of
As
concept,
in
but-
like they don't think it would work.
yeah, the
right?
developers were like, we don't want to make this game. We really don't want to make this game.
Okay.
How I don't know how a game can be good if you don't want to make it.
Yeah.
I feel like when I hear that though, I feel like I have to know like more facts about like the developers don't want to make it. When I hear that, what I think is like there's some developers on the team that aren't
More
as thrilled as
loud
other-
ones.
Yeah,
and also it's like every like let's say God of War Ragnarok or whatever. There's people in that studio who would rather not make God of War Ragnarok. They want to go make something else.
Yeah.
So what I feel like that's kind of like baity. It's kind of like, oh hey, we know our readership doesn't really like games as a service, so let's tell them developers don't want to make a games as a service.
I can agree with
Jason
that.
Schreier aspect. Yeah,
Or
The
Paul,
spin,
Paul
spin
Tassi.
on the narrative. Yeah, I get it.
finding
I
the,
totally
the
get it.
person. Yeah, you're
Right.
probably right. I mean, I'm sure there was somebody that was really at that studio going, yeah, making
Right.
hyena T-shirts out of their garage and stuff.
Well, now let me say this though. When I see Redfall failed for pretty obvious reason. Like it wasn't a great game. It was like
Yeah,
it was just rough. It shipped too rough.
barely a game. Yeah.
When I see Hyenas, I see something that's much more polished than Redfall, right? From we've
I
seen a
don't
few.
know
Well, yeah,
about
but the
Well,
people,
we've seen
looked
the people
okay.
that played
Well-
the closed beta said it was an absolute mess. It was just an
all right, because now I have heard like they had multiple betas, and I have heard I don't know on some podcasts where they're like actually the last beta they cleaned up a lot, but the earlier
really?
betas were a mess.
Oh.
But it's like it's who do you believe? But here's what I think when I see Hyenas. I see a shooter kind of like, okay, you just got to be sprinting around. You got to be headshotting everybody. You just have to, it's like a frenetic type game, right?
right.
So in a sense, I almost looked at that like that's just another arena shooter. It's kind of like that Cliffy B. What was that Cliffy B game? where it was-
Lawbreakers.
yeah, it was like, it's like Lawbreakers where I'm like, yeah, it's going to appeal to a very specific demographic. And that demographic, they're playing Counter-Strike Go, they're playing Call of Duty traditional, they're playing like those twitchy shooters, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that market isn't it's kind of a crammed market. And I feel like maybe if they picked up a market that has like wider lanes, like, okay, like I always say like the survival genre, that's going to be the next genre that blows up. Do you guys see that at all? Like maybe they just picked the wrong
Hasn't
genre.
that already done? Hasn't survival already kind of had its?
I would say there has yet to be a AAA effort in the survival genre.
I kind of agree with
okay,
that.
yeah, I
Like
can- I
it
can say
hasn't
that.
it hasn't peaked. I don't think survival
I
genre
don't-
has peaked.
I don't think it has either.
And they're still trying to figure it out. Maybe. Well, even Hyenas had kind of a. I mean, it's not like an arena shooter. I mean, you've got several teams fighting over
Right.
loot, which you
Right.
extract. So
Yeah.
it's like an arena extraction shooter, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Which
Yeah.
kind of sounds cool. I think it's. But if you played it, and I didn't. I don't know, nobody here played it, but maybe it was just more like, oh, this feels and this plays just like, whatever game, Apex Legends or whatever.
What's that Ubisoft game that they're trying to push out?
X-Defiant.
Yeah, it's kind of like an X-Defiant game. Like we all have our abilities. We're all headshotting each other.
Yeah, I guess.
I know there was that like extraction thing, but I'm like moment to moment gameplay is like just headshot everyone. And then once you've headshot everyone, grab the Sonic doll and head to the extraction point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying, maybe it just wasn't engaging enough. It wasn't interesting enough.
Right.
You can't just throw something out there with like these, goofy characters and expect to just roll in some money, because that's what it looked like. And I think we said that when we saw the trailer last year. It's just like they're, here's a here's a studio that made really good strategy games, made Alien Isolation, and then made this. And that sounds to me like a publisher putting the squeeze on them to make something that just rolls out money.
A Redfall situation.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened with Redfall. It's like, we don't want to make this. Well, you're going to have to. And then Microsoft buys them, and that wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have said you had to do this. But they also said, oh, it looks fine, whatever, just put it out there. So,
let me ask you one more question pertaining to this story.
Yeah.
I always feel like, I always tell you about the year of 2018 when gaming changed forever. I always feel like there's multiplayer games who kind of got concepted and greenlit prior to 2018, which was the Battle Royale explosion. Yeah. And then there's those games that got concepted and greenlit after 2018. Do you guys think that there's a potential?
Yeah. Okay. I think this is what I perceive. This is what I think is going on, especially when you say stuff like there was no clear direction, there's no clear management. Okay. You can't have that. That's zero. If anybody that's interviewed anything having to do with God of War, they always mention Cory Barlog. It's like, okay, well, what if we do this? Oh, that's great. Go clear it with Cory. What if we did this, or can we do this? Go clear it with Cory. You have somebody in that studio that has a clear definition and a clear vision of what that game has got to be and what it is. And when you have that, and it's a good leader, somebody that's, I guess, likable and can convey that to people without being a jerk, then that is your clear definition of management and direction. Games that are successful, Vince Zampella, same thing. When they were making Call of Duty, and Titanfall, like, he was the guy. It's like, can we do this? No. Why? It's a bad idea. Okay, what about this? That's a great idea. Run with it. If you have somebody that calls those shots and knows what this game is going to be when it comes out and visualizes it, it's usually almost always a success. When you have a game that's like, okay, put some people together to work on something that's going to make us a lot of money. You can't start a successful game that way. A mobile game maybe, because it's trash anyway. But that's just my perception. That's how I see studios fail and the ones that succeed. Whether it's single player or multiplayer doesn't matter. Is it comes down to that one or two or three people that know exactly what they want to do.
Right. Vic, what's your take there?
I mean, I pretty much agree with Scott with this.
Yeah. So lack of leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All
right, fair
you
enough.
can't just leaders, go make a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a really good leader, sometimes the leader has to be a jerk to get things in the right direction.
Well, yeah. I mean, that just depends. That depends on the people in your workplace too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to be a jerk to someone, it's probably because they're not doing their job.
Yeah. I guess my take on Scott's take is it's so hard to understand the inner workings of what happened with Hyenas. Like, I guess we get a report that said there was no leadership.
We'll never know. Right.
Yeah. So, I guess I'm like, because I do think there's someone who's like, oh, this arena shooter idea is a great idea. And then it's like, dude, you didn't understand what was happening. So, it's tough to say. It's tough to say.
Yeah, and not just that. It's like, oh, Neil Blomkamp comes in and goes, hey, make it Sega dolls. That's genius. Change everything. I mean, that to me was like, who is driving? Like, who is,
Right.
Even when they made the creative director for LucasArts, back when LucasArts was a thing, he said every time George Lucas came in, he would come in and change something so stupid, like the name of a character. Like, I don't like that character's name. Change it to Flip Flop or Flippity Boo, you know. And they would do that, you know, and because he's George Lucas, he owns the company, he has to do that. Well, when they got a new creative director and manager, he would walk around with George Lucas and he'd go, yeah, change the name of that guy or whatever. And he'd go, okay, that's great. George, look at this over here. We've got this other thing. And he's like, what? And he would completely forget about what he just said. And they would just continue with what they're doing, you know? So that's somebody that's like, can actually, you know, maneuver through executives, somebody like that. And man, some of the games that they put out are just, you know, all-time classics. So, and then when he left, they closed down. I can't remember his name. So
sad news for Creative Assembly.
Yeah. I hope that they recover, and I hope that they make Alien Isolation 2 or something like that, because that game was.
They probably need to make something safe at this point. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I say that. You know, Alien Isolation didn't really. It was critically acclaimed, but it wasn't a commercial
I wasn't saying
success.
Alien Isolation specifically, but yeah, they need something pretty safe.
Alien Battle Royale.
What they need is like they need Alien Isolation with that appropriate IP attached. Like I don't know, is Jurassic Park still big? Like it seems like that there are going to be a few more movies, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean those movies made a lot of money, but you know, just have a raptor chasing you instead of the alien. Because kids like the raptors.
They could do that, yeah.
Super smart raptor.
Yeah.
Game over, man. Game over, man. All right, Thick, what was your news story?
Okay, well, I got 2 pieces today. And the first story is there was a recent closed beta testing of Gigantic, a game that's been dormant for 5 years. It's a crowd favorite among some people, but basically, if you're not familiar with Gigantic, it's a MOBA. Basically, it's a 5v5 kind of third-person shooter aspect. You kind of do things like objectives around the map. There's things like gather orbs or get power-ups, kill players, and all that. All the things you do contributes to this kind of dual phase mode, where the Gigantics, basically like your boss on one side and the other, basically start to fight each other, and then you kind of influence that battle as well. Now, it originally released on Xbox and PC. I think it had some publishing issues, maybe some managerial issues. Ended up on the Arc client. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. The Arc client has
I remember that.
Torchlight and Torchlight Infinite. Not very major. Yeah, it has Perfect World as well, the original Perfect World. But yeah, they had like a 2 or 3 day playtest this week. They added a couple things, and right now the publisher is Gearbox.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, are you guys interested in this title, or were you interested? Like, well, what was your take on it?
I think that it's great if it's if something was ahead of its time and they can revise it and tweak it a little bit and put it back out there and give it a second chance, I think it's great. I don't play MOBAs. I just
did you try
my
it
thing.
Back in the past?
I did. Yeah, it was on Xbox. I tried it.
Yeah,
and it was. I mean, it was pretty. It played great. I didn't have any issues whatsoever. It just wasn't really something that I'm into. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. If they can do that and it's successful, then what else can they bring back from the grave, and maybe something that was a little ahead of itself.
It seems like this is like partly a safe play too. Remember, like, I think Gearbox is what's going on right now? Like they're possibly being sold off by Embracer Group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this seems like it's a way to at least play it safe, maybe generate some income with maybe bring it back.
It's funny that they had their own MOBA called Battleborn. And they chose to bring back an arguably a better one, I guess.
Did you play both? Or
I did. I played more
Battleborn?
Battleborn than I did Gigantic.
I did not like Battleborn.
I did not either.
The melee was not very good.
No.
That was the thing. But I did notice that there's like a boss battle aspect to that game.
Yeah.
And they kind of brought it into Borderlands 3 a little bit.
I can see that.
You guys say it was ahead of its time. I say it was behind the times. I don't
Really?
think. I don't think. Don't be holding your breath that Gigantic is gonna light the charts on fire.
I'm not saying it is.
No, I know.
I'm just,
I know.
Well, if it could get a new community, or just be successful from the grave, I think that's for me. That's exciting to think about what else can kind of come back.
Yeah, this is essentially like a game that was never coming back. Like there's no
Right.
wiped off the
Yeah.
face of the earth, right?
Yeah,
So
it was done.
Yeah. And it will be wiped off in about 6 months. It will be re-wiped out the face of the
Wow,
earth
okay.
in about 6
Yeah.
months.
Okay.
So
I hate to say,
Well,
but you're probably right. But
it's quite possible.
Try
Yeah.
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Guys, and am I crazy when I say this?
Wait, one thing.
Go
Why
ahead.
is it not ahead of its time in terms of like?
Look, when I want to play a multiplayer game, I want to take my time. I want to like enter into the world at my own pace. These games like Gigantic are like, no, go faster than the other team.
Well,
Be
it's a
more
MOBA.
efficient.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
have
I
to
just feel
race.
like I feel like okay, we that market is that is a saturated market, that MOBA market, that adding another one where it's just like it just feels like okay, maybe in 2003.
I think
might have hit.
there's a lot of systems in the game that is
Uh-huh.
not in any other MOBA. Like it's very unique for what it is.
Give me an example. What was unique about it? I know the
So-
Giants was kind of cool, but
The
and
Giants
here's
is one aspect, but
the
and that's
Giants is
bef-
well.
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say like like when you say okay, two Giants fight each other, I'm like that's cool. I want to see that. I want to see that one time, and then like that's not like a thing. I want to see it 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
Okay, it doesn't interrupt the game necessarily. That's like the objective of the game, right?
It's like the towers, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
during that time, it's basically back and forth between the players.
Yeah.
And like that's not the necessarily unique aspect, but like the way it kind of built up to it, I think it did a very good job with the using of different objectives, different ways to approach. Like you could just keep killing the other team, and that adds to the gigantic phase.
Right.
Or you can, you could just complete objectives, and each objectives they might give you a certain power up that will help you, and
Yeah.
it's different power ups, and there's different levels with different type of power ups.
Okay. I know I was excited about is it Paragon or Paragon?
I did not like Paragon. I'll tell you that much.
Here's one thing that I'm assuming Gigantic struggles with. When you're in third person and you have to shoot those what are they called? The mob waves?
Mm-hmm.
You know how it's like 10.
Okay. There's not exactly a mob wave in the game, by the way. There's
But
no
is there, is there something you have to like, okay, I got 8 of them, or I just have to get that last one. I gotta like,
I don't think there's that
You know
sort
what
of
I mean, Scott?
no, there's not that kind of granularity with it. Like there's
Okay.
it's more of like they're bigger objectives. They're not like, oh, you got like tons of mobs to just kill. It's not like that.
I should start knowing what I'm talking about before I open my mouth.
You
'cause
should watch
I
the
don't-
Well, I mean,
basic tutorial and take a look.
we might get a chance to play it. There might be like an open beta, or it might just be free to play and release it again. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, having it Xbox only, Xbox One only, was probably a detriment to it. I mean, if this was like Gearbox publishes it on everything, this could be another success. At least, not like a overwhelming success, but enough of a success.
yeah, like
that
an
it
Overwatch
makes
2
something.
success. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Thick, do you have a second news story?
Would you like a second story?
Heck yeah. Heck
Okay,
yeah, more the
okay.
merrier.
All right. Well, there's basically it's been kind of like a divisive review week, and there's 2 games that came out. And
This could be fun.
Yeah, technically, okay. Was it Forza Motorsports is not really out yet, but the reviews are out, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about Mirage.
I think it's
Early access.
early access. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay more and play now. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It might as well just be launch at this point, and then everyone's just playing 5 days later.
Yeah.
Any
So-
case.
So what's the story? What's the story with Forza?
Well, the story is it has a very divisive kind of review. Like some people really like it, some people just think it's mid. But I mean,
Yeah.
basically the kind of major takeaways I've seen is like visually it doesn't look as good as the original.
Yeah.
And I see some of the comparisons online, right? Like I don't know
You know,
if you guys watch it.
oh,
I
if you're
don't.
on Twitter, if
Yeah,
you're on Twitter, you see this nonstop.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
there was because Dennis Legary
Yeah.
yeah, I remember
reviewed
that
it,
one.
and yeah, he was given a build that wasn't
Had a
that
glitch.
wasn't a recent build. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was their fault. I mean, it wasn't his fault, but he did. He was like, "This doesn't look good," and then he had to come back later and say, "Oh, wait, look, this is what it looks like now." But it was kind of like the damage was done, and it got out
it
there, and
it
then
didn't even look that much better in that video. But this thing, it's inconsistent. There's some really good looking
I
parts that I've
know
seen,
it's
right?
weird. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, aside the case, visuals is one of the talking points of it.
Hmm.
It does have ray tracing 60 FPS, which is
Hmm.
good to see, and they see that performs very well. A lot of people are saying the driving feels good. Now they kind of
Hmm.
added like more the tire system, like they talk about in the previews or whatever. It's like more robust. They have a pit stop now. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
not someone that necessarily cares about that, but I do like that they add that in.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, you'd be surprised how much tires make a difference, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Okay. Let's see. The multiplayer is robust. That's what we're hearing a lot. Car RPG system, people do not like. So basically, the
Yeah.
car RPG system, it kind of focuses on leveling individual cars, right?
Right.
So like
Right.
whenever you get a new car, you have to level it up again.
Yeah.
And this is a big point of contention for a lot of people, and what probably a lot of people will complain about for the time being.
Yeah. It's funny how gamers don't mind it when there's a leveling system in RPG, but then when it's a racing game, it's like, oh, this is sacrilege, right?
Well, I
I
think the
it's
purpose of it was to kind of like get you to kind of like be more involved with
to
like,
know a car, to know
yeah,
it.
to
Yeah.
know a car, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it doesn't feel as good because back in the past, like you could just, accrue credits and spend it on a car that
Love.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you love, and then
Hmm.
like, you just
A
have
warthog.
currency. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And like, if you love it, you just level it up instantly, kind of in a way, like if you think about it that way, right? Because you're
Yeah.
just buying parts instantly for it. But yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a shakeup. I no, I'm gonna play it this week. I'm trying to set in my wheel. I've been playing a little bit of Forza 7 as well, and trying to get back used to the whole simulator thing.
Yeah.
But in any case, another thing people do not like is probably the lack of tracks right now. Right now, there's 20,
Hmm.
and in Forza 7, there's 32. So they're
Yeah.
planning to add more, I think,
Yeah.
per month.
Well, right. This is no longer this is not 8,
Yeah,
right? This is like a platform.
this is a platform. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be, it's a game of service, It's
Yeah.
so it's good they're going to add stuff, later on. Which
I think the tracks will be free, of course.
I would hope
Uh,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the cars probably not.
No. I'm going to guess that there's going to be season passes, and there's going to be.
Hmm.
I mean, I can see this. I don't really have a problem with it going in that direction, because overall, instead of just supporting it for a couple of years and then trying to make a new one. I mean, how many times can you make the same game, right?
Yeah.
They said this with Gran Turismo 7 when it came out. Well, some people did. Some people think it's the greatest on the planet. But, it's like, how many times can you make the exact same game, the exact same cars with the exact same tracks? And,
Right.
you can improve on it. But I think right now it looks kind of crappy. But I think in the long run, they might have the better idea for a simulation racer. It's just going to take some tweaking. And as far as the graphics, I can't wait to see what it looks like on PC. Because honestly, I mean, on console, there's two genres that showed off a new console. What was it? The racing game and a fighting game.
Mm,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if what I've seen of it, just like you said, Thick, it's like divisive. It's like some of the stuff I've seen is it looks real. Like I
Yeah.
think I'm looking at something real. And then the next one I see is like, that looks like maybe it I don't know what to think about that. It just doesn't look good.
Right.
So, but this is on Twitter. You can't believe everything. So we'll have to, wait till it comes out and see what that looks like. But yeah, I think not having a Forza 8 was probably a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this will definitely evolve. One thing I did notice, and it's probably not the biggest deal, is the replay system. The camera is a lot better. Like, this is something that I noticed in Gran Turismo 7. Like, it's just like really well done. I mean, it's not that important in the long run. Like, I'm not looking at replays
It's
all the
great
time.
in marketing. It's great in marketing.
It looks, yeah. If you're looking at like the comparison videos, you'll notice the camera differences. But they've definitely improved on the Forza replays because they were not good in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gran Turismo's always had really good replay system, with good lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
I think
that's a big difference. Well, it's a small differentiator, but that's like one of the things you notice,
That's the one thing in the videos that I've saw the difference is that like at night, when turning, the lighting model in Forza looked authentic, and yet in Gran Turismo it just looked, kind of bland. But and that's with comparison. For me, when I'm driving and I'm playing the game, I don't even see that. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I figured.
you're feeling the tires. Right?
I'm right. I'm focusing on the road, and
right.
But nothing will ever beat Sega GT on the original Xbox. I'm sorry, it's the best racer in the world.
I remember that one. That was supposed to be their big Gran Turismo thing at first.
It was great. I love that game. I played I put so many hours into that game, and I'm not a big racing fan. I like rally games.
Yeah.
So wait, is that your favorite racing game then?
I would have to say, yeah. It was just something that, you got to upgrade your cars, and you earn money, and you could buy new, items, buy new cars, and it was basically Forza before there was Forza.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nate, what's your favorite racing game?
Probably one of the early Gran Turismos, just because it was like, oh my gosh, like in getting a Honda Civic and race the Honda Civic, like that at a certain point was like so cool, right?
Did you know that the Subaru Impreza was never going to be released in America?
But Gran Turismo did it, right?
That's cool. PlayStation 2, it was so popular that they were like, I think we might want to release this. Yeah.
Yeah, now you see Subarus everywhere.
Yeah, the good cars. I had one.
I just felt like, can we officially put this genre to bed? Like, this is a dead genre. This is a boring genre. No,
it still sells a lot.
No, it
like,
sells a lot, but it's like
if you're talking about like maybe it's a sports game basically for a lot of people,
it's
I get it.
Yeah, but it's arguing over like which one is better. I think it's
so boring.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just it's a Coke and Pepsi thing. It's like if you prefer Pepsi, go drink Pep. I don't think you could say one is way better than the other.
Right.
Yeah. So far I like Gran Turismo 7, and I didn't play like a ton of it recently, but when I did play, it was good. But I still like Forza 7 as well. I still like most of the Forza games. So
I would play Gran Turismo 7 if they'd put it on PC. Why don't they put that on PC?
Yeah, put it on PC with PSVR.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Put PSVR on PC.
Thick, you did a wonderful job this week.
I got one more review. Can I say one more review?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Mirage, right? It's a $50 game, right? I think so.
Cheap. Yeah.
So it's basically also divisive. I've seen some 9s. I think GameSpot gave it a 6.
They give everybody a 6.
Yeah. Originally, we know this was supposed to be DLC for Valhalla, but then they created a standalone game. There's some remnants of that you can kind of see in the UI. But yeah, what the takeaway is, it's back to focus on stealth. Like the combat system is not very like it's just like one melee button from what I understand, right?
Wow.
Social stealth system. One thing that I kind of like was that there's like a notoriety system, and like if you don't sneak around and people see you killing people, your notoriety kind of goes up. But then you could take down wanted posters, and then you could bring your
bring it back down.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Was that in the original games? I forget.
Yeah, it seems like I remember doing that, and was it 2? Maybe it was 2.
Yeah.
I like the
Or
idea. I like
Brotherhood.
the idea of the crowd being like, that guy, he keeps murdering people.
Yeah,
Keep your eye on that guy.
Is this
Yeah.
is this a case of one of those? What was that guy? I can never remember his name, but from Blizzard, who's got the really thick neck. He got fired, saying you think you want this, but you don't want this. You know, like going
is that
back to form.
Was
and
that
then-
about WoW?
Yeah, it was like, you know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
want
it
a
was
server
about WoW.
classic, and he said, yeah. Is
The
this,
original live service.
right? Yeah, exactly. Is this a case of that? Is this something that's like, you know, everybody wanted this, but then when you have it, and it feels old, you know, it feels kind of played out.
You know, I was listening to, I don't know if you probably watched it, was Skill Up's review about this. Is like,
I haven't yet.
he doesn't want this game to be kind of like a straw man for saying, oh, people don't want that formula back, because he's basically saying this is not a very good effort towards that sort of old school gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see it, right? Because it originally was DLC, right? Like if you look at it through that lens, you could kind of like, oh, this is basically DLC at this point, like a $50 DC.
Yeah.
Like that okay, a good point a lot of people point out is the parkour system is really much stronger now and feels pretty good. Like some people are saying, like it feels like the game feel of it
Yeah.
is the best of any parkour
It's
system.
about
Ubisoft.
time.
Yeah.
It took them like 17 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
like Death Grind Radio.
I liked it in Origins and Odyssey. I thought they were good. It's just the way the world's built is much spread out. This one's much more tighter, right?
Tighter,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. People like the history, like the setting and the history of it. Like they're always good with history lately on their games.
Yeah.
What they don't like is the simplistic combat, but you know, stealth is the focus, right? The AI hasn't really evolved, right? So that's another contending point.
The reason that's not evolving. I just had a revelation this prior week. 'Cause no one
Assassin's
cares.
Creed Revelations.
No one cares about the AI.
Yeah,
People give games
I
10 out of
agree.
10 with
Yeah.
with the worst AI.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
And then when a
Yeah.
game's bad, that's the first thing they point out. Look at this stupid
Oh,
AI.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Right.
it's got the Ubisoft tax. Is like, oh, we got to complain about something, right?
Right,
Like it's
right.
Yeah.
complain that it's the same game when other companies do the same thing, like
Oh, yeah.
Horizon.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Hot take.
but I mean, a slight hot take, but
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
what else? The story is considerably weaker, is what people said. I don't know too much about the story. I know it's about what's his name, the assassin guy from
yeah.
Valhalla?
Basim.
Mario.
Basim, I think.
Basim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more like a prequel, so like I hear the story's a little bit more disjointed in how it's structured. Worse than Valhalla. No, not Valhalla necessarily, but worse than Odyssey and Origins is what people say.
Yeah.
So
All right, Thick, I did give you a well done a while ago. I'm downgrading your well done too. You did okay.
okay.
You did okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Guys, let
too long.
me jump into mine real quick, okay? You ready for
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
According to the venerable Kotaku, Naughty Dog has placed their factions multiplayer on ice. At least 25 contract employees have been laid off at Naughty Dog, most of which were in the QA testing department. Full-time staff do not appear to have been part of the cuts. Naughty Dog has over 400 employees as of July this year. This comes after a Bloomberg report in June that said Factions team was downsized significantly after a negative internal review by Bungie. According to that report, Factions was diagnosed as having a deficiency in terms of long-term player engagement. Scott, here's my question for you.
Yeah.
What is the difference between put on ice and canceled?
I think
we
what
know?
they
June 2015.
Yeah, there might not be a difference internally, but I think what it means is that they are halting what they're doing to overlook and just kind of, you know, take an assessment of the entire process. This is where it's like, okay, we're going to change A, B, and C, and we're going to go forward with it, or it's going to be, we're going to cancel it. And
Yeah.
I think that that's what they mean by put on ice, because they're probably working on something else. It's probably
Right.
The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, most likely,
Well, they're working on Last of Us 3. I feel like you're not putting 400 employees on a remaster.
No,
Probably not.
no, but
Yeah.
we don't know that for a fact. I mean, we pretty much do know that they're working on the remaster. So, where are they going to focus? And honestly, as much as I like the idea of factions, and having a multiplayer open world experience in that world, in that fiction, I think would be great. This is not the studio to do that. This sounds and looks to me like an Anthem situation. You've got a studio that
Redfall.
makes you've got a studio that makes single player, story driven, linear experiences, and now all of a sudden you're wanting them to make an open world, multiplayer experience, just like Anthem, which they, BioWare trying to make a game of service like Destiny without trying to make Destiny. This could be a huge mistake. And then putting it on ice and thinking about it may be the best thing for it. Now, having another studio take that fiction and create a multiplayer experience, that might be a better idea. Naughty Dog doesn't do that. So stop making Naughty Dog do that. BioWare doesn't do that, and we see what happened with BioWare. To the point of if their next game does not sell well, it might be the end of BioWare. Not that this would happen to Naughty Dog, because we know that they've got something else in the works. They're going to keep the lights on with remastered whatever. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And again, I would love to see them just hand it off to another studio within Sony that knows how to do it.
I say give what's it, a crossover to a Marathon.
No, I don't know about that. That's
just put Joel and Ellie in Marathon.
Joel and Abby.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thick, let me ask you a question. Do we ever see this multiplayer product release out of Naughty Dog? Yes or no?
I mean, if it's on ice, it could be for a while. Like this.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like the work on it is probably just like
garbage.
Like they're probably waiting on something. If anything,
what are they waiting for?
Well,
I don't know, like timing.
They're getting new leadership. It could come down to that. Him going in and going, this is trash. Out.
All right.
Yeah, or they're waiting for like a supporting studio to be able to handle it, or I don't know, maybe like part of Bungie can help them with it.
Right.
Even more,
I want to ask both of you guys this question. Tell me if I what I think I'm doing is I'm about to save this project. Okay, I'm about to set everything on the correct course.
Do it.
Naughty Dog. Here's what you do. You call up Epic Games and you say, "Hey, we're trying to make a Rust-like game, open world survival. We're gonna put our Last of Us on it. What do you think? Unreal Engine 5. Like, what are the pros and cons?" Sony owns 3% of that company. They're going to give you an honest feedback. Then you call up the Gorilla and with the Decima engine. That's their big open world engine. Same thing. We're going to make this open world game. It's going to be like Rust, Last of Us. What can this do? Then you pick one of those, and then you just make a Rust clone. I don't understand how it's not as easy as like pressing a button.
Yeah,
but it's like
no, I no.
You don't think that saves it?
No, because because of the name on it, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is you've got the reason that people buy PlayStations and play The Last of Us is because of that story-driven narrative. It is. Why are you shaking your head? No. That is exactly why they play.
I'll tell you why.
Well, I don't think they played the multiplayer because of that, right? Like people really like the multiplayer for different reasons.
Well, the multiplayer for one was it was but it was very small. It was very small focused. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't sustainable. Not that it was supposed to be, but it's kind of like Uncharted multiplayer. It's like, oh, just have a deathmatch, team deathmatch, or whatever. That's how Dad did it, right? But going forward, if you want that name on that, you have to tie it into that franchise, and it's got to be done right. If you don't do it right, then it tarnishes anything else moving forward. I say that only because it's a Sony project, and that's how they look at their IPs. They don't want to tarnish their IPs because they are everything to them. That's all they got. Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War, Horizon. They don't want to mess any of those up because that could cost them 10 million copies of that game.
Yeah, I guess my thing is like when you look at Rust and DayZ, like they're very double A-ish efforts and they're huge successes on PC. And I think the console market is ready for a AAA version of that formula.
Right.
So
but
it's like
the people that play those
right
are not the people that are playing The Last of Us.
Yeah, I guess my thing is like, let's say they make The Last of Us Factions and it's a successful Rust or a successful DayZ like clone. I don't think that the people who love that IP are like, ugh. Like I think they dip their feet in it and then they're like, okay, I can't wait for The Last of Us 3.
Was it the whole point of like having kind of expanding into like a more different type of genre would be to attract people to the IP, right?
Yeah, and they said they wanted to continue stories within that narrative, within that multiplayer experience.
Yeah. That never made sense to me. I'm like, I just don't see enough multiplayer games out there who are like, we care about the story, I know there's some.
Yeah, but
isn't Bungie trying to do that with Marathon a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
But from what I understand, when they're adding story to Marathon, it's like ARG stuff. What is that little like scan this code and then you can read it on your phone while you're loading up the next lobby?
They already do that for Destiny 2. I think they're trying to do a little bit more. They're trying to expand it.
Yeah. I guess I just don't see like the nature of a multiplayer gamer isn't like a moviegoer. It's not like a book reader.
It's not, and they'll try to do that until they realize that it's costly and no one cares.
Yeah.
But again, that's a new IP. The Last of Us is not. You've got anybody that's bought a PlayStation has probably either bought it to play The Last of Us or have played it because they've got a PlayStation. So if you come out with a really crappy multiplayer game that you're putting a lot of money in and a lot of marketing and a lot of everything, then you've got another situation where Naughty Dog's now like, oh, what the hell happened there? Microsoft's doing the same thing with Halo. It's like, oh, here's our greatest franchise. Let's crap on it. Sony doesn't want to do that. That's why they're asking Bungie, hey, come in and take a look at this. And when Bungie said, no, they probably said, hey, you got a great idea here. This is great. But people are going to play this for like 3 weeks and they're out. You don't have anything for retention. You don't have anything to expand on that. And you don't know what you're doing, basically.
That's why I bring up Rust and DayZ. Those things are evergreen titles. Those are like, well, if you want player retention, look at the formula. The formula is these survival games.
Right, but what is their player count?
Super high on Steam. Super high. It's like frequently in the top 10. And Steam, as you said, Steam's super competitive in terms of multiplayer games.
It is.
So when you're up near the top, that's kind of impressive.
Where else
Steam,
can you get Rust? Well, Rust is now on console, but
get
still on
console,
PC. Yeah, it's going to be on Steam. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, okay, I see that. It's just seems Rust is just so
I guess
competitive. It's so like terrible. I mean,
Rust was it early access for how many years? Like longer than Baldur's Gate.
Well, I don't mean that so much as just the people that play it.
The nightmare. But
absolutely.
Scott,
they're like the worst players and there's worse people in the world.
Scott, what is the central theme of all zombie fiction? It's the humans are the real monsters, right?
Yeah.
So when you go play Rust, it's like that 14-year-old kid who's calling you every swear word in the book. He's a monster. It fits too perfectly with the fiction of everything.
Yeah, and my experience with DayZ, anybody I came across, they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Bam, let's take all this."
Right.
Oh, he didn't even have anything. Anyway, let's move on. I mean, it's just it attracts like the worst kind of player.
That's the whole theme of The Last of Us. Everyone is awful in that world.
No, I get that. But
so they already had their story.
Yeah. It's just go play Rust.
Right.
There's your there's your Last of Us 3.
Yeah.
Oh God,
guys. We gotta get to the rumors.
Let's go.
Okay.
We have 3 quick rumors this week.
Okay.
Number 1, it is official. According to the WCCFtech.com, the Nintendo Switch follow-up is coming out September 24th, 2024. It will have 2 SKUs. The digital only one for $400 and the physical only, not only, but the physical one for $450. Thick. Which one are you buying?
Is it backwards compatible?
Do you think that matters,
Okay,
Scott?
give me your choices one more time. Give me your choices.
I don't care. I'm not buying.
Digital only for $400 or physical for $450.
I don't know.
Are you-
physical?
You're going physical because you kind of like those special editions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott brought up a good point though. Is it backwards compatible? Thick. Do you think that matters?
I think it will matter to some people, but I don't care.
Yeah. When I say matters, like, does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Like, do you think the market cares about that?
I mean, a subset of people. But
Subset.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo fans probably don't because they probably don't expect it. But people that
Yeah.
play on other things that like on Xbox and PlayStation that have backwards compatibility,
Yeah.
I think it might be an issue.
Yeah. I just know Jim Ryan got raked over the coals when he said who would play this, and I'm like, I'm totally with you, Jim Ryan. I think he was talking about Gran Turismo, the early Gran Turismo titles. I'm like, those looked like garbage.
Yeah,
No one's playing those games.
No,
anymore.
he said, quote unquote, who wants to play old games? He
Yes,
just said
exactly.
old games. He didn't say
Yeah,
that
he's
old
right.
game. He said old games.
I remember he was talking about Gran Turismo and he was playing because I think he was like trying to promote the Gran Turismo 4 or something.
Yeah.
You know. And he nailed it. And then the masses tried to drag him down they tried to drown him.
Well,
And look where he went.
there's
They
no
pushed him out of the
backwards
industry.
Yeah. He's retired now.
Yeah, exactly.
Voluntarily.
Right.
Yeah. Rumor number 2. According to the Twitter rumor mole viewer Anon, Santa Monica Studios is either working on a God of War Ragnarok DLC or a half sequel. This bores the heck out of me, but I feel like I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you think they should do? A
I
Miles
think
Morales type game?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Which I just finished, by the way. It was very, very short.
What did you play both Spider-Man?
Yes.
Which one do you like better?
Oh, Spider-Man. Yeah.
The original is better?
Yeah.
Oh, because you hate the fact that Miles Morales is learning all the abilities, right?
Yeah, I'm just not. It's not as fun for me to play a character like that. But toward the end, it got a lot. It did get better, but it was really short.
Yeah.
Just as I mean, I could have done the same things over and over again within the city, but I just didn't. You know.
Yeah. I feel like Miles Morales was really just, we need something for launch, and that's basically what it was.
It could have been DLC and
Yeah.
marginally the same price, and it probably would have done just as well.
Was that game $40?
No, it was 60.
50. Oh, it was 60?
It was
it
not full.
60?
It was
I
not
thought-
full price.
Was
No
it
way.
not?
I think it was
was
50, but you could get
49.
like a bundle or something.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
what maybe
Original?
that's what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I paid like $30 on Steam for it, but yeah, I think it's I mean, for $30, I feel like I got my money's worth. You know,
Yeah.
it was short,
Yeah.
but I didn't. It's not a full-fledged price. So if they
Scott,
did
did you-
something like that, that's probably a smart idea.
I'm just wondering what they do. Would it just be like a side character? Or I don't know.
I didn't play the last one, so I have no
do not.
idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just a continuation of the story seems to be
People
something
will
that they
buy
could
it.
do. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they'll
if
buy
it's
it, right.
and it's probably going to be good. A lot of times I've always said this, especially a game that's either single player or has characters that you're invested in. I would love to see smaller DLC or smaller, insets of games instead of waiting 5 years for the continuation of that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always wished they had done that with Halo. You had to wait 3 years, and then now 6 years, and now probably Infinite. But so yeah, I think that's probably a smart move because the next God of War may be instead of GOW, it might be GAAS. I don't know.
Well, I am a nerd. I am a nerd when it comes to this stuff. Not constantly, but every once in a while, I'll look up like Santa Monica hiring for live service.
Yeah.
That's the one company at PlayStation that does not hire for live service.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of a single player focused entity.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
I
if
think so, too.
Ragnarok sold really well, then they can. It's probably still a safe bet. But yeah,
I do wonder if they're kind of following the Insomniac model where they're like, let's have a Miles Morales team, that kind of B team, we can
Yeah.
pump out these formula games, and then maybe the A team works on something new. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did with Spider-Man 2. They had the Spider-Man 2 team,
Right.
and then they had a Miles Morales team, and then once
Yeah.
that cleared, once that launched and was done, they moved them over to Spider-Man 2.
Wolverine.
So
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a great strategy because like the Miles Morales team kind of like they get used to the tools, right, of the PS5, and then they can kind of incorporate that into the next one, or they have
Yeah.
feedback on it basically.
excellent port, by the way, on PC. If anybody's wondering,
Smooth.
Oh yeah, I mean 100 FPS all the way through. It was very consistent. Looked fantastic. I'm excited to play Spider-Man 2 on PC whenever it comes out.
Can I say to shut up to a large group of people right now?
Sure, please do.
I hear a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Insomniac is like the crown jewel of PlayStation Studios." Guys, they did nothing without that Spider-Man IP.
Yeah,
They,
their
like,
their previous
struggled.
games were mid.
Yeah,
Sorry, they're just mid. I mean, that's my
I'd
opinion.
say they've always been high quality, but a lot of them are not for me. I'd say.
yeah. But yeah. I just feel like just because they finally make a game that sells 20 million copies because of the IP, not necessarily because of them.
Yeah,
Right.
I told 100% that the Spider-Man IP really
Yeah.
knocked them off the charts.
Right.
I know the original Ratchet and Clank wasn't that great. The Ratchet and Clank 2 was a major improvement.
Upgrade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they made like those commercials showing off the weapons. I think I mentioned that before,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then like that game is more focused on third person, probably because they were trying to have a shooter to fight against Halo back in the day.
Right,
That's PS2 day. But it was just kind of like their take
Well, that
on
was
shooting.
Killzone.
Yeah.
Killzone
Halo
too,
Killer. Yeah.
Mhm.
But like I do feel like that sort of shooting like aspect for Ratchet and Clank kind of came out from Halo in some ways.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. That's just a take, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think
Ratchet and Clank, the true Halo killer.
yeah.
You don't hear that take that often.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely noticed it just because.
Yeah.
Like, the 1 and 2 are so different. But okay, yeah.
All right, rumor number 3. There's a rumor last week we didn't report on covering, stating that the State of Decay 3 was targeting 2027. According to Xbox podcaster Jez Corden, that is false. Scott,
good.
put that frown upside down.
Good.
Yeah. Switch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's false.
Good.
I guess they were placeholder dates.
Well,
Guys,
they've had some production issues. They've had some management issues as well.
they
I
have.
think somebody left and somebody. So maybe they've got somebody in there that's kind of pushing them
Yeah.
forward. And see it next year.
Bonnie Ross.
Really?
Oh God,
Can
shut your face.
Guys, can I save the State of Decay franchise for you? Just make it a Rust game.
Yeah. I knew that was coming, but yeah.
Okay, all
Rust
right.
with cars.
That's
Yeah, no
right.
comment. No comment. Okay, let's go.
Thick, introduce listeners to the big talk this week.
All right. So the big talk this week is about button mapping, the underdog of gaming, right? The what
Yeah.
how you translate your love language to your game. Okay, but let me ask how you want to which one is the superior button mapping? Which console?
Oh,
Wait a
Xbox.
second. Explain the question. I don't even understand the question.
Okay. So each system has a different layout, right? Like,
Oh.
but I mean, I like just like how you call it, because I don't want to say the jump button should be the X button, but then you're interpreting it different. So we're gonna resolve that right now and make sure we know which one we're talking about. Are we gonna be talking about Xbox?
Shouldn't that be per game?
Oh, it has to be per game. It has to be.
No, yeah, I mean, but like the X button is different on each controller. So I want to make
Right.
sure we're all
Oh.
talking about the same controller. So
I see.
is it going to be the
Gotcha.
Xbox controller?
Okay.
Personally, I think that is like leading the witness. I think we need to be describing a vanilla controller. I don't think we shouldn't openly be biased like that.
What is the vanilla controller then?
Well, which one sells the most? I don't know.
I see.
But-
I see
we
what
can go on.
you're hitting at.
Oh, I'm a logical thinker. I'm a rational, logical
And the
thinker.
Oscar goes to.
I don't see what I said wrong there.
What do people use on PC?
Okay. I guess keyboard and mouse. So we're going to talk about keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, you want to talk about keyboard and mouse?
All right,
that's
continue,
not part of the
continue.
conversation. Not part of the conversation. Okay, so the basis of this will be on the Xbox controller. So you
Okay.
kind of have to know the layout. I'll
Yes.
I'll reference the PlayStation controller just for, clarity's sake if you're not sure.
Scott, hold that up every once in a while for me, all right?
Yeah, yeah. But the way I'm going to go about this, it's going to be mostly focused on shooters and action games.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about certain things we like button map. Because, like, a lot of games do it differently. Like, for example, Fallout 4 has the Y or triangle button as the jump button.
Right.
Right? So, but,
Right.
I mean, that's different on a lot of games. But we're going to talk about which ones we think is the ideal place for it. And then we'll move on if we need to. We'll discuss if we need to. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally
So
messed up my camera. It's like dark on my camera. Should have used
the
a black
controller broke your camera.
It did. It did.
That's okay. Okay, we'll start with the most basic one. It's almost in every game, right? What should be the jump button?
Scott, let me see that controller. Let me see the buttons.
If you can see this, I've got these blacked out. I changed the.
What's the bottom? What's the bottom button?
That's A.
It's the A button.
A.
Which
A
is
is
the-
jump.
Let me.
A is jump.
Here, maybe you can see.
I
These
should
better.
just bring up Scott, I'll just bring up a picture. I'll bring up a
there you go.
picture. Oh, that's a cool
Okay.
controller.
Yeah, I made
I
that.
like
That is a
one.
nice
It's like
controller.
it's like
Thanks.
steampunk.
Oh wait, that's a custom plate, isn't it?
It's custom
custom,
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
The Supply Drop podcast does not endorse humble brags.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only other
right.
one I got. The other one's like blacked out. But, let me think about this. I mean, it's hard to do because if it's like that one button that you've always used, you want to say that, right? But is that the right one?
Is that the ideal button? I feel like you jump more in a lot of games than any other, but it's also the thing is people like to combine jump with certain other abilities, right? They combine it with clamber. I mean, double jump, maybe double press for dodge. Like they combine it with a lot of things, but I think I do feel the jump button universally is the A button on Xbox X on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that. So I
Yeah,
I
mean,
mean, it's cross. The official thing on PlayStation
oh,
is
you want to
cross.
call it cross?
Yes, please. Let's be accurate here. Thank you.
Okay, the cross
Cross.
button. Okay.
Thick, that is your second strike of the podcast. All right.
Okay.
Do not have a third strike.
Okay. What should be the crouch button?
It should be B.
Yeah, I'm gonna say B because in early versions of Battlefield, default was the right stick, like pushing down the right stick.
Oh yeah.
And you couldn't change it. And that was very infuriating because when you get real tense and you start squeezing it, you start doing this, and you don't want to do that, right? So I would say B, since it's a toggle too, because you press it and
Okay.
if you're not
do you remember
toggling,
the
I don't know what you're
question?
doing.
What games have it as hold? I think the original Halos, couple Halos had it as hold on the stick, if I recall, right?
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, I did not like that. Like like you're when you
crouching
crouch,
was
you hide
new.
from the radar, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you're pressing down on the stick and you're pushing on it, so it's not a great feeling.
No.
Actually, I think I would ask right now, what should the button press on the sticks be? Because I feel like it's kind of limited because it doesn't feel good for a lot of things.
Jeez, I haven't played with a controller in so long.
I would say switch to builds should be click in the right stick. Switch to builds. If your game has like a building mechanic, you should click that stick in.
That's one thing. I know it's if it's toggle like crouch, I think that's fine, but hold crouch no. I feel like I've seen a use for it. Oh, when you aim down sights, you click it to lean sides. I actually like that a lot.
I guess I could see that in maybe a slower paced game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in Rainbow Six Siege.
But only on the left
Okay.
stick. I don't think the right stick should be. I don't think that button
Anything?
should exist. I just don't think it should exist. It's too easy to accidentally push it, especially if that's your aim. So your aim should just be.
It should be pure.
It should
Pure.
be pure
That-
aim.
Okay, so the right stick is usually used for sometimes crouch too.
Sometimes, yeah.
but it's used frequently for melee as well, right? That's Call of Duty.
Uh,
That's
by default, I think, yeah.
yeah, there's so many games that use that button for melee. So my next question is, what should the melee button be?
Q. Oh, sorry. Uh, what do I use for melee?
So I can give you a couple options that we know of. It used to be B on the old Halos, which I didn't never liked. Shoulder button. And
That's my grenades.
Yeah.
yeah.
I almost think click and right stick for melee.
I think click and right stick, if it does anything, that's probably the best option.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree with that too.
I think we can agree also that controllers need more buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say
I mean,
that.
come on. Right?
Yeah. Reload
Yeah.
button.
Oh, X. It has to be X.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I
Square,
can't.
right?
Yeah, if I push, that's just instinct. I can't
Mm-hmm.
do anything other than that.
Yeah, I feel like there's no other place for it. I remember Halo 3 had it on the triggers, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was
They-
I did not like that.
They
at
did
all.
that because they liked it in Gears of War, because Gears of War had the shoulder button.
Oh, that's
for
true.
Yeah. And then they implemented it in the default for Halo 3, and everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, why do you guys think they like the shoulder button? Like, there's got to be a reason aside just from Gears of War. Like, do you think it's because it frees up your aiming thumb, or
I wouldn't think so, because it's automatic. Like if you run out of a clip, it's going to reload anyway.
yeah?
So
But there's
why would-
the active one in Gears of War, right? Like the active.
It
reload.
is, right. So you hit it once and then it starts to reload, but if you hit it again on that little spot, then it reloads much quicker. In Halo 3, it's just a regular reload.
Yeah.
Really, there's no reason why you would have to reload. It's just a simple button press, and if you're reloading, you're probably not, standing out shooting at anyone. You want to back off and reload anyway. That's yeah. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. It's just a poor decision.
Okay. I think reload should be X. I think that's kind of
No, we all
Universally,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
universally.
I'm gonna change the genre a little bit,
Okay.
and it's gonna be more focused on action adventure. And I want to say, what do you guys think light and heavy attacks should be at?
Oh boy. So that's like, give me an example of action adventure like Zelda.
Yeah, Zelda. I forget what. I think that might actually be
Monster
the
Hunter.
top face button, like the Y or triangle one on the Nintendo. I could be wrong. I haven't played Zelda in so long, as you can tell. But
That's our great shame. This podcast great shame.
Yeah.
I would say right trigger and right button.
That's what Dark Souls does, right? Like
Yeah.
the shoulder button is the light attack, the
Mm-hmm.
trigger is the heavier attack, which I kind of like that idea, because like the trigger requires more to press, therefore it's heavier, right?
Well, that, and you hold it. You can hold it longer for certain attacks. If that was a
Yeah.
button, then your thumb is not on your aiming longer, or at all, for that matter.
That's true.
So yeah. So even though you can move, you can't move. It just takes it takes any second you're not moving, it could cost you, and that's universally as well, like in any genre.
Yeah. So in Code Vein, which is somewhat of a Dark Souls like too, they use X and Y. X, and I think this happens in Arkham and in Shadow of War, like they use
Yeah,
X
a lot
for
of
light.
them use that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
You don't like that? You prefer to
Well, I mean, it's fine but when, and it kind of depends, because in some of those games you're doing a lot of quick attacks. Plus, some of those require like heading A, X, A, and then another one to complete a combo or something. So by doing that, you really can't get away from those face buttons. But again, doing any of those that takes your movement away I think is a detriment.
Yeah.
Why haven't
Go
we
ahead.
talked about the important button, which is the emote button?
The emote button.
Yeah, this is like kind of one of the most important buttons in all of gaming.
I think it's
Maybe that
hard.
should be A.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be
exactly.
it.
Or R2. Or R2.
Right.
Yo,
Emote.
what is it like? Emote, I think, is like a low priority in controllers. Like
Yeah.
how they handle it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be the button that they're not using as much, right? It might be one
Yeah.
D-pad, maybe even the stick. You could combine it with this other one I have down. It's inventory management, right? That's
Yeah.
and it's there's certain types of inventory management. There's like the radial wheel, and then there's like the just regular menu where you just go in.
Yeah.
But I'm talking more about like the one that's active that you're using actively while in the middle of something, right?
Mhm.
So what is your preferred method for inventory management? Do you like the wheel or
D-pad.
you like the scrolling through things?
I like the D-pad. I like the wheel if it's a multiplayer, but I like an inventory screen if it's something single player that you can pause. Yeah, but in a multiplayer, I don't want to have to pause the screen and go click, click, do this. I would much rather have like a button you can just either up for something, down for something, or hold it down to have a radio button and then just, quickly select what you need.
Okay, now regarding the inventory system, you have to drop an item. What button do you prefer to drop an item?
Down on D-pad.
Down on D-pad.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That just, feels like it's just, drop it.
Nate, do you have an answer for this?
Right trigger.
Explain that one more time.
So you have an inventory system that, like a radio wheel or whatever, but you're on an item and you want to drop it.
L1.
L1.
Drop that item. I drop it on the ground. L1, it goes on the ground.
Is that in a game already?
I have no idea, but somewhere in this cranium, that's
You
what
want,
the
you
brain
want
said.
L1, okay.
Yeah, L1 that.
L1. Got it.
Okay, like, because I
'Cause
feel X or Y is a button I've seen a lot.
Yeah, that.
Really?
Now a different part of my
It's
brain
like
is
I'm
like,
gonna reload.
you're an idiot.
Where's my gun?
Well, I mean, if
Reload
you're
that
in the
one. Where's my
inventory,
gun?
in
Yeah.
that in that
I know,
inventory
I'm just
wheel
kidding.
over, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing was in Diablo, it's hold X to drop. I do not like that. I want a
I don't
dedicated
like.
button.
Yeah.
Quicker.
I don't like holding buttons for inventory either.
Well, that brings me to my next one: switching weapons.
Oh.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
But let's say there's 3 weapons. Do you prefer Y and the third hold,
No.
like the hold
No.
function? You don't like
No,
that one?
I don't like that at all. I can hit Y
No.
twice.
You prefer the twice one?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
like
good,
in
Scott.
Division 2, where you hold it down for your pistol. No, if I'm out of ammo on everything, I need that now. Don't make me hold it to get anything.
I thought it was double. Now there's one game that uses Y as double tap, and you get your third weapon or your.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's double tapping, but still, even that, just hit it. Y, just 1, 2, 3. You got 3 weapons,
Yeah.
so you hit it 3 times.
So I know was it I think Borderlands. I think if you hold Y, you can select the weapon that you want to use. Kind of almost like an inventory wheel.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys would prefer like a double tap or just tap tap tap?
Well, I mean, if you have 3 weapons, yeah. I mean, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
Easy. It's not like we're playing a Doom on, what was it, Wolfenstein Doom? You had like 9 weapons you could
Yeah.
cycle through?
Yeah, that was the shoulder button to change your weapon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it would swap between the last 2 used.
right.
Which I mean, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a good way to do it. But most games now you have 3 weapons, if
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm almost done here, but
Guys, wait. Another big one.
What?
Thick. Move your avatar. What should that be mapped to?
move. What do you mean move your avatar?
Like, you want to go forward, you went backwards, strafe left, strafe right.
Oh,
Which button are we putting it on?
I think that's universal, right?
Interesting.
The stick.
Interesting.
the-
Wow.
the left stick.
Wow.
Thick, you don't
if
leave
you
much room
wanna
for
do it that way.
conversation.
Not for
Yeah.
this one. I feel like
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's almost universal to like where if it changes too much, it's gonna alienate an audience.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thick, you almost got a third strike there.
Almost.
Almost.
But
But
okay,
you
how
just
about,
made
how about
contact.
this? Are you a was it inverse or normal?
Normal,
stick?
because I'm not a psychopath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those people should be rounded up and like into a truck and taken somewhere.
By the way, everyone here signed a contract saying we don't play inverse. So that was kind of a prerequisite for joining the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Thick, you don't play inverse, right?
I'll tell you, at one point I did
Right?
during GoldenEye.
But
that
not
was
now,
it.
right? Well, that doesn't count because
now.
that's the worst
I
controllers
converted.
ever.
I converted. I saw the light.
You know, when Halo, when the original Halo came out on the controller, the D-pad was you can control the D-pad with like forward, backwards, left, and right. And coming from PC where you had, WASD, it made way more sense to me to use the D-pad to move around until I got used to the left stick. And I wondered if that's why they did that or if they just gave a different option. But now if I was to use that would just feel really weird on a controller. I don't know.
I wonder if there's a way you
why I
could
added
set that still.
Oh,
I'd be
yeah,
curious.
I'm sure you
I'd
can.
do it just to try it.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you could still do that on the original. If you play Halo CE, you can still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it feels very keyboardy. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got a couple more. You're watching a cutscene. What button do you use to skip it? Any of them.
Press any key.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, and don't hold it
Scott.
down. You don't have to hold it down. Just press any key. Any one of them.
In fact, if your controller senses movement, it automatically skips it.
If
got
it
that.
senses light in the room.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if it
darkness,
hears me
or
crying,
no light.
or if it hears the player crying because the player doesn't want to be fed
Yeah,
sad
if it's
story.
listening to the mic.
Yeah. Yeah.
No emotion. Right.
Okay. And last one. What should be the confirm button? Now you could interpret this in any way. What should be the confirm button?
X.
Yeah,
Cross.
I would say
Cross?
X. A lot of times it's A, but I don't think. I think A is the context used for A is a little different. I would say X and just another button. Yes, X.
Okay. I think
Or
early
Y.
PlayStation.
What about Y? Y for yes. Now I rethink this.
that's
Okay, I'm going to
true.
say
Interesting.
Y.
They need an N button then, right?
That's interesting. Might not be good in Call
probably
of
not.
Duty.
No,
Probably
I don't.
not,
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
Was it? So originally the PS1 was it the O button, right? The circle button
Yeah.
was the confirm button, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
eventually it
Stay
changed.
wised up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
That's
have we helped?
all I
Have we
got.
helped anyone? Have we helped any big publishers or
Yeah,
developers?
yeah.
I would think so.
We're up for hire.
Hey,
I'm
we
sending
can
this-
help you.
Put some
Yeah.
buttons on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, just the standard control, the one that comes with your console.
Yeah.
Put some on back. Here's another idea. You have these right here, right? A, B, X, Y. Okay. So these, put 4 more here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not the same as these. Different as these. That
Different
gives
as
you
these.
4 more buttons. How about
Yeah.
that? 4 more
Yeah.
buttons. Check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always thought of that. I've thought. I mean, it's great to have those buttons on the back like an Elite controller, but if you could have just more buttons, especially like real-time strategy games and stuff, hey,
Yeah.
just throw that out
Yeah.
there.
I was thinking about covering that genre, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Make this a trackball.
Oh my gosh.
Think
Okay,
about it.
kill him.
Just think about it.
One strike on Scott.
Yeah,
No,
Scott, you
I
did
want
bad.
No, just think
You did
about it.
bad.
Just take it with you. Take it home with you and think about it. If you had
All
right.
if you
One
had a trackball,
Two
your aim would
strikes.
be
Two strikes.
your aim would be mouse-like. I'm just saying.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, we're
Unplug
getting
his mic.
gyro
Unplug
next.
his mic.
We're getting gyro next gen or next revision.
I'm
so-
telling you, man. Look at
This
this. Look at
podcast
this
just got
weird
canceled.
things like, oh, I'm aiming with this dong 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 dong. If it was oh man, I'm telling you, if it was a trackball, your accuracy would be you could like shoot somebody's ear off from across the
I'm gonna
Can't
tell you.
pilot a plane with the trackball.
Great point. Thick, great point. And also, there's been about 42 companies who make controllers throughout the last 20 years. Every single one has tested a trackball on the controller. No one has brought a
don't know that.
trackball to market.
You don't know that.
They
have no
should just
proof.
how about they just remove the stick and make it into a ball, and it's the same thing.
Well,
That's what he wants.
Hold
Yeah.
on. Wow. You've got this guy, right? So you just take that off, put on a trackball,
Yeah.
right?
Strike three.
They've got a steering wheel now for this guy that you can get it for Forza.
That's true.
They got a
Oh
Forza,
my
yeah.
gosh. Can you imagine playing with a little steering wheel on that?
I don't know. I'm tempted to get it, but it's like $30, and I mean, if it doesn't work well, I'm
Okay, it's worth it. It's worth it for Forza.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's kind of like the remote control cars.
Yeah.
You know that the actual one's not a video game one, but that might work out well. But I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Trackball.
Guys, we have to end the podcast, but I have something important to do before we end the podcast.
Do it.
I need to tease next week's big talk.
Okay.
Thick, I know Thick's getting upset right now, but Thick,
I'm pretty
It's a
upset. Strike
strike
one.
one. Yeah, we're all getting strikes. Okay,
Yeah.
guys, I have something written down. I want to read it, so don't interrupt me. All right.
All right.
There is a sentient comet, headed towards Earth. It's going to obliterate the planet in 2 years. However, it has communicated to us that it will turn at the last second if the Supply Drop podcast gets 100 or more views in 4 consecutive weeks.
Yep.
So next week's Big Talk, each of us will bring 4 suggestions to the Supply Drop podcast Big Talk that we think will save Earth. We will go over each suggestion, discuss what the group likes and wants to implement in the coming weeks. Are there any questions? Can we save Earth? Can we?
We'll find
All right.
out.
I think so.
So
Trackball.
Thick, what is your homework? What is your homework over the next 7 days?
Not striking.
No. You have 4. You have to come with 4 ideas for the
4.
next podcast. Yeah.
4.
And they can't be the same, otherwise it's a strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't tell each other what ours are, but they can't be the same.
They can't all be 4 of the
For
same.
each one that are the same, you lose a finger.
Yeah. And I think that, do you guys think that's a good Big Talk idea? Because I think it's like,
think so.
A lot of our listeners want to know what it's like behind the scenes, right? And I feel like cracking the door so they can see is kind of like a next level thinking.
A
think so.
BTS moment.
Avant-garde.
Right.
You might say it's avant-garde podcasting.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I
All
like
right, so
that.
that's going to do it for the podcast. Scott, tell listeners how they can interact with us.
Down below, you can leave a comment and say anything you want, and tell us what you want us to talk about. And also, if you're listening to the audio version, I apologize for the video I showed earlier. It was my car flipping all over the place in Cyberpunk. And also, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. I couldn't think of that. Everywhere. And anywhere you get podcasts, just check us out and listen to us.
Yeah. Thick, can you teach us anything?
Yeah, this is
to say
about our
Spotify.
podcast. It's about our
okay.
podcast. All greatness
Stop it.
is rooted in risk. Did you get that?
Oh,
good.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
That is
That's
true.
good.
All right.
We are risking our reputations.
Yeah.
Live. That's right. All right. All right, everyone. We'll see you on Monday. Bye.